Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for a post-match pint in association with Purity. If you want to get 10% off all Purity's goods, then if you use the code #VillaView at the checkout, you should be able to do just that. I'm Dan Bardell, hosting today with Neil from the For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast, here to dissect Aston Villa 1, West Ham 4. Miserable. It's miserable to say that scoreline out loud, really, isn't it, Neil?
Yeah.
We do start with some good news, though. Because Neil, you became a dad on Friday, so that is probably the only good news that we're going to talk about in this show. So let's go. Let's start with that. Congratulations!
Thank you very much. Thanks very much. I was So between all next week and all my five-a-side games, I'm going to do the Bebeto cradling the baby celebration.
Yeah.
Whenever I score. Is that taking it too far? I think that might be taking it too far.
No, I think you can do it. I think you can get away with it.
Yeah, no, it's great. A couple of sleepless nights, and a couple of but it's all ahead of me. All ahead of me now.
Well, we're all having sleepless nights at the moment now because of Aston Villa Football Club. Should say apologies for the fact that we haven't really been on air in the last few weeks. A few things going on, so haven't been available to do podcasts, but back now. So Villa have fallen to pieces, to be fair, since the Villa View have been away now. The fourth defeat on the bounce now, and things are not good at Villa Park.
No, things aren't good at Villa Park. It's and it's a funny one because, you know, before we would have spoken about one issue, not issues. I'm not going to call them issues, but we would have said one observation, two observations, or whatever. But now there seems to be like 3-4 different observations you can make from a match, and there's little, you know, things coming out like the Sanson piece in the Arsenal game, and then obviously, you know, we just can't seem to catch a break in certain areas, which isn't an excuse. It's just an observation, as I say. The fact that, you know, there's murmurings that there might be COVID in the camp again. You know, I've seen it on Twitter today. Don't know how true it is. Injuries, like not being able to get Traore back again, who, to be honest with you, this time last year, I don't think any of us would have seen how pivotal he can be towards our being a small bit creative for us. But as I said, they're not excuses, they're observations, I think, more so than anything else. But like you said, there's just that little bit of nothing seems to be going right in a lot of areas at the moment, and you know, time is ticking, I think, to get that sorted, because 10 points from 10 games kind of tells its own story.
Yeah, and the 2021 form in general hasn't been brilliant. I haven't got the stats in front of me, but, you know, the record isn't that great. And I mean, I get to Villa Park at an absolutely ridiculous hour now because the parking's so bad. They've closed the car park that me and my dad used to park in, so we have to get there like really early, leave 2.5 hours before kickoff. So I'm at Villa Park for a long time, before the goalkeepers even warm up. I'm sat in my seat, and I sat there and I had very little hope for the game because West Ham are a very, very good team, one of the form teams in the Premier League at the moment, and we're just on a really bad run, and we look like we're struggling to get out of it. We're in a bit of a funk. I think that the Spurs game, I look back on that and I think that both teams were poor. You know, that kind of game can happen. We'd had 2 wins before that, but that Spurs game was just an off game, fine. It's the Wolves collapse. We just have not recovered from that at all, and there was just an air of resignation around Villa Park yesterday, Neil. I mean, from the 7th minute we're behind, and just straight away, it just felt inevitable. I've seen people say that the atmosphere was toxic yesterday, poisonous. I've been in poisonous and toxic Villa Parks, and that was not one yesterday. But there was just this air of resignation that we were going to get beat, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, when you talk about toxic and poisonous, like, you know, you just have to. Like, I remember being in Villa Park when Alex McLeish was manager. That really wasn't a nice situation at all, because, like, in a way, I'm not going to say I felt sorry for him, but nobody wanted him there. You know, nobody wanted him there. Oh, he was literally lambs to the slaughter from day one. And this was early enough in his tenure. When I was there, maybe he was only about 8 or 9 games in, and it was very much a case of, we are wasting our time with this guy. And you know what. It didn't really come across. Obviously, I watched it on TV yesterday. It didn't really come across on the TV. I did feel that the West Ham fans were bang up for the game, and why wouldn't they be? They're in 4th position.
Oh, they had a great day.
They had a brilliant day. But they had a great day from minute one. And I see that on the screen there. Ground was really quiet. It came across as quiet on the screen, on the TV screens and through the audio. And that's not to say that the fans were bad or anything like that. But I think that there was nothing to kind of get them off their seats. And even when the team sheet was announced, I'm sure you're going to come to that in a moment, we won't talk about it too much now. Even when the team sheet was announced, I had a bit of a wander in my mind, and I went on a bit of a ramble on our podcast. I went on a lot of a ramble, to be honest with you, because I wasn't sure. I was expecting the formational change, but even that didn't seem to kind of get people fired up, because we didn't own the ball in the first 15 minutes of the game at all, and they scored early, and there was nothing really to get excited, to get off your seat about. It was a mundane enough performance, I think, from start to finish, but it was mundane even to start the game, even, should I say.
Yeah, Tim Sherwood used to say that the football was Jack Grealish's friend. The football was not Villa's friend on Sunday, not at all. We'll come on to it. But yeah, let's talk about the team selection, because I would say that Smith went quite nuclear with what he did. Ripped up the three at the back that we'd been having for maybe 4 or 5 weeks. Now, at the start, it seemed like it was a formation that was working really well, but by the end of it, I think a lot of the fans, especially on social media, had enough of three at the back. Yeah, we've got injuries, so Ings and Louise were both missing. Jacob Ramsey's gone off early as well, which hasn't helped things at all. I feel if Danny Ings had been fit, I don't think Leon Bailey would have started, but we'll come on to Leon Bailey later in the show. But the biggest talking point, I guess, was the club captain, Tyrone Mings, was relegated to the substitutes bench. Not sure what you think of that, Neil, but me and you were speaking before we came on, and I think Hawes was playing specifically to deal with Antonio. And to an extent, I know we've shipped 4 goals, but I would say he did a decent job against him, especially in the first half. But I'm just not really sure that Dean Smith made the statement that he thinks he did by dropping Tyrone Mings, because I watch Villa's back line without Tyrone Mings, and whether you love him or whether you hate him, and or whether you're in between, there's Villa fans that really rate him highly, there's Villa fans that think he's a calamity. But when he's not on the pitch, there is absolutely no organisation, and there's not much leadership either. And I just felt at the start there was no one getting the team together. And that first goal that we conceded, we weren't all over the place, but it's just people doing the wrong things, being in the wrong positions, getting dragged across. And I mean, when a young right back's cutting on his left foot and bending one in the corner, and just no one's near him. It's too passive. There's no intensity. I'm not saying Mings absolutely changes that, but I do feel he makes a difference.
You're right, and what we lost yesterday was the leadership aspect. We lost the leadership aspect. Like, I'm not sure I can name a leader in the team. Emi Martinez potentially. Well, not potentially, absolutely. He seems like the father of the team. The elder statesman in there that can, that's guaranteed to start every game. I think he is. He's the oldest person that starts every game, and he's going to be there, and he's going to be able to chat to people and talk through people. And he did one. There was one interesting piece that I saw Emi Martinez do when we had the first corner. He brought John McGinn over, gave him the clear instructions about what to do, and he went and I don't know whether he did it or not, but it looked like he did. We didn't concede from it anyway. But that's kind of leadership that we were kind of missing. And John McGinn was our captain, and maybe we weren't getting that from John McGinn around there. So I might be a bit tangential there because I haven't barely mentioned Mings, but dropping Mings, I'd like to know what the actual stated reason from Dean Smith was. I haven't heard it yet. I thought that, when I saw the team specifically, I went to, okay, House is there and he's going to be left-footed, and he's going to put him on the left side, and he's going to have Konza on the right-hand side, and the reason he's there is to deal with the fact that Mikel Antonio is so good in the air and he's scoring goals for fun, and at West Ham have something like 21 goals since last February or something like that. He's on an
unbelievable run, although he didn't score against us.
Yeah. But from set pieces,
I mean, let's celebrate that we didn't concede a set piece yesterday, because it's the first time for a while that we've been able to say that, isn't it? We actually dealt with set pieces pretty well, which again, probably one of the reasons that Hawes was put in there. But Dean Smith did explain it, but I didn't really get the reasoning. I can't remember exactly what he said, but I can't say that I really understood it, because people say Mings is out of form. I would say Konsa's off form, and has been for a few weeks. I think since the Spurs game, Konsa's been equally as off form as Mings. Axel Tuanzebe's been relegated to the bench. He hasn't been good the last 2 games. No. Other than Matty Cash, McGinn's quite up and down. I would say has a good game, then he has a bad game. The only consistency I'm seeing from a Villa player at the moment is Matty Cash.
Yeah, and that's
you could have dropped anyone. You could have dropped anyone. That's what I'm saying. I just don't think that dropping the club captain. I don't think that was the right thing to do. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's absolutely fair. And you know what? I think that's a very fair point. I'm just not sure where I come down. I'm not sitting on the fence about it. I like I like a statement. I think when your back is to the wall, sometimes you have to make a statement. And look, there you go. Claimed West Ham set piece. I hadn't seen that. I haven't seen Dean Smith's post match interview. I haven't read anything today. I'm on a Villa News ban essentially today because I can't handle it. Can't handle.
I mean, we've done well to get you on a podcast considering what's going on in your life. To be fair,
yeah, exactly. But if that is the reasoning, look, there's a modicum of sanity towards it. I suppose really the next big thing here is, you know, when we are talking about leaders and we've got somebody like Tyrone Mings and Aston Villa have put him, you know, up on a pedestal as a football club, they really appreciate him as a player, and they've gotten him into the England squad. You know, what does he do from this now? Does he rally the team around him, or does he continue to have arguments with John McGinn in the field so publicly? Does he go back to the Tyrone Mings that pulled El Ghazi into shape after that West Ham game last season, I think it was, when they had a very public roaring match on the field? That was more of the leadership of Tyrone Mings. But the kind of it seems like if there was something in the himself and McGinn thing, it seems like he's lost that argument. And I think it's up to him now if he wants to, and this is, once again, this is just my opinion, it's just reading between the lines for everything. I don't know if any of this is true at all. But if there is something in that and he wants to really galvanize this team, he can do that because he is such a big leader. And sometimes maybe there was a lack of response to that, and Dean Smith felt that maybe, you know, I can get the fire back in this guy's belly here. He's having a bit of a wobble or whatever. Yeah. I don't know. But good leaders will go through thick and thin, and this is 10 at the moment. And whoever is going to be that leader, as you say, whoever's going to be the leader is going to put up their hands, or, you know, things won't go so well. But I said to you beforehand, Dan, that, you know, you mentioned there that Matty Cash is probably the only guy that's undroppable at the moment because he's playing so well. And we have Matty Target on the left-hand side as well. And I think Matty Target was quite anonymous. I think is a safe word to use. I don't want to call him poor because he put in as much of an effort as he could. It just didn't go right for him. He passed balls against other players, passed balls out of play. He was done for the first goal. Himself and Bailey were done really for the first goal and bits and pieces like that. But is there a conversation here? If we want to shore up the left back, I just saw Ashley Young put up there.
No. What are you going to say? You said it to me before we came on. No.
Is there a conversation that Tyrone Mings plays left back to stem the bleeding just for a while, to play left back to stem the bleeding?
No. I mean,
I can't have Ashley Young play left back.
You might as well go back to 3 at the back as do that. Well, interesting you talk about Ashley Young, actually, because, you know, he ended up coming on for Ramsey pretty early on in the game and playing central midfield. And again, my opinion, you know, I'm obviously a huge backer of Dean Smith, but I do think he got a few things wrong yesterday, and obviously we are on a terrible run at the moment. But the decision to bring Ashley Young on in central midfield, I put a tweet out, and it's not meant to be disrespectful for Ashley Young because I've got a lot of respect for him, and I think he's a good signing, and he's someone who'll be really, really good for the football club. He's never been a central midfielder in his POM. He's never been a central midfielder, and you know, at the same age as me. He hasn't got the legs to play central midfield. Perhaps he was brought on because we were lacking a bit of direction, maybe a bit of leadership. But for me, that midfield yesterday, we're giving ourselves no chance having him in the midfield 3. It's just not his position. It's not what he was brought in to do. It's the second time we've done that now this season. I didn't think it worked particularly well against Brentford at home. And, you know, I know things aren't great at the moment, but you've got one of the best youngsters in the country kicking his heels on the bench in Chukwuemeka. Get him on for Ramsey. You're replacing a young player for a young player. I know Ramsey's got a few more, well, a fair few more senior starts under his belt than Chukwuemeka. But if he's not coming on in those situations when you're behind, when things aren't going well, when we've got a mountain full of injuries in midfield, and then you're seeing a 36-year-old backup fullback come on in midfield for you instead, that's not good, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. And once again, a lot of the time when I'm on podcasts, even my own, I try to play devil's advocate, or maybe even just try and play the other side sometimes, because nobody wants to see Ashley Young central midfield. I don't even want to see Ashley Young left wing.
He's there to play fullback.
He's there to play fullback. He's there to play fullback in a push as well. He's there for his leadership. He's there for his leadership piece. He's there to be a mentor for a lot of players. We're just pushed into having to play him. We weren't pushed into play him in this instance. I fully believe that yeah, Carney should have come on. Okay. My biggest problem with Carney at the moment is even at the under 23 level, Carney looks very slow. And I think that potentially.
Do you mean slow with the ball,
No,
releasing the ball, or do you mean?
Just like I think he's got a long stride, but he's not particularly fast over ground. Now, is Ashley Young fast over ground? Did he want to have a flat three in the middle for a press? I'm not saying that Chukwuemeka is bad. I know I'm going to get pelters for this. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying he's got a long stride. It takes him a long time to build up pace. That's just what I've seen in a short space of time with him. Maybe something like that against the likes of Jared Bowen, because he was coming on to play on the left-hand side of midfield. Jared Bowen was already given anti-target splinters at that stage. So, maybe bringing someone on there that had had
cover behind Bailey.
Yeah, to cover him behind. Potentially, look, and I'm just talking about what potentially what could have happened there. I would have liked to see him come on. I would have liked seeing Carney come on. He's one of the better players in the club, or better young players in English football at the moment. And he started him against Brentford. So we know that he can
that's what I'm saying.
Do stuff. He's magic with the ball at his feet. He's very good. He hit the post against Spurs at the end of last season, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So, this kid can really play, and we're all very, very excited about him. I'm just trying to think, why wouldn't he have come off the bench? And that's all I got. That's all I got really is that Young was there to kind of babysit Matty Targett for a bit. And that's not right.
That shouldn't be needed.
Exactly.
That shouldn't be needed.
It shouldn't be needed. It shouldn't be needed.
And also, you've lost a bit of dynamism with Jacob Ramsey going off. You've lost a ball carrier there in your central midfield. The central midfield, it's all a bit safe. I know there was injuries yesterday. Louise is a massive miss when he doesn't play.
What was the story with Louise?
He does. I think he's either injured or ill. He does a lot of things that the other midfielders can't do. He's good with the ball, Louise. So I think when he doesn't play as the deepest midfielder, I think he is a miss. But yeah, I wasn't having that substitution yesterday. We wouldn't. I mean, I'm not a manager, but it just wouldn't have been what I would have done, and I don't think it made us any better. And straight away, as soon as it happened, I said to my dad, I completely disagree with that for the reasons that I've already said when I was asking you the question. But I just didn't think it worked. We've lost the game 4-1. Did that work?
And you know
Probably
what?
Not.
And you know what? I can say with a modicum of certainty that people would have felt a lot better. Take this with a pinch of salt, but losing 4-1 with carrying Chukwuemeka coming on and getting 80 minutes under his belt and still losing 4-1, there's a hell of a lot of better feeling that we got to at least see what he could do up against some really good midfielders and Declan Rice and Souček. And who's to know? Maybe we don't lose 4-1. But what happened was Ashley Young came on, and he came on early. And, he didn't have a bad game. He just was ineffectual.
No, I'm not saying that. I just don't think it suits him playing there. 100%. It's just not, it's not him.
It's a weird one. And to be honest with you, the fan base don't need to see weird things happen from a substitution like that, particularly
especially not now.
Yeah, particularly when we're on a losing streak. And secondly, when there's certain people like that are calling for Smith out. I think this is a reason to look at it and say, yeah, look, you could have brought on Carney Chukwuemeka, and we could have all got to see what we could have seen, but he didn't make it off the bench, and reasoning being obviously because there was a red card, which led to one substitution, an injury, which led to another, and then El Ghazi came on for Leon Bailey, who was always going to come off at some stage. He was never going to play 90 minutes, but yeah, look, I suppose realistically, it's very fair to say that Dean Smith did make a rod for his back by bringing Ashley Young on there based on anything, perception, the way the result of the game went, it just, and I hate this phrase. I really hate it. And I hope I never use it again, but it just wasn't a good look, for what the fans expected, what the fans wanted, and what seemed like the logical thing to do. Did he overthink it?
No.
Did he overthink it? Potentially. And that's where Ashley Young came on.
I mean, it wasn't a great day again for Emi Buendia, but he was involved in the goal with a nice bit of work down the right-hand side, squaring the ball for Watkins. Won't be the greatest strike of his life, Watkins, but it found its way in via Fabianski's foot. I would say generally, he looks more comfortable leading the line on his own again. I had a feeling he'd get back on the score sheet yesterday when I saw that he was playing on his own up top, because that's what he did all last season, and that's what he did so well. So we got ourselves back in the game, and the crowd got up a little bit, and you start to think, right, okay, there's something to work with here now. But then within 5-10 minutes again, passive, let someone shoot. We're back behind. It's all these kind of traits at the moment, conceding bad bad goals at bad times. It's a nice strike from Declan Rice. I don't think it's the cleanest strike he'll ever hit in his life. But it just felt like the first goal. There's no one coming out to close him down. There's no one putting him under pressure. He's got time to pick the corner out and get his shot away. And when we're not in a dogfight, but when things aren't going well, you want to see a bit of bodies on the line. You want to see players getting in front of shots, and we just didn't see that for either of the first two goals.
And with hindsight being 2020, who gets their body on the line? Who dives and gets blocks in for shots in the box? Number 5, he does. And look, like hindsight is always the clearest set of eyes. So like, who's to say that he doesn't do that again? It's the first goal we mentioned there, Ben Johnson. I don't think Emi Martinez is getting to that. I do those, and I know it came late to him through a lot of bodies, and his position wasn't bad by any means. He just got down very, very late to it, and I think it was savable. Yes, it was in the corner, but by no means had it much venom behind it. So I was a bit critical. I said Martinez should save both of them. On second viewing, the first one, I'm not so sure. The second one, I think he could have done a small bit more. But you mentioned Emi Buendia there as well. He was quite good. He got in around the ball, and we had him on the right hand side and that right wing where people have been crying out for him to play, which is fantastic. That's why he played for Norwich, and we got to see a small bit of him there. And that ball from McGinn was absolutely sublime to him. That's probably the only highlight of the game. The only big highlight of the game for me. That perfect reverse slide rule pass to Emi Buendia, and Emi Buendia takes it in. And that's something we haven't been doing. I'm sick of us crossing the ball. I'm sick of us crossing the ball at the moment. So taking it to the byline and getting it in low, or even cutting it back to the penalty area, that causes a small bit of consternation, especially against Ogbonna and I can't remember Zuma. Yeah, they were going to hit the ball away all day long, and Ollie Watkins ain't known for playing the ball in the air, and neither is Leon Bailey. So I was a bit bemused and befuddled with why we were just limiting ourselves. And West Ham were doing it on purpose. They were funneling us out to the wings to cross the ball in. Sure, why wouldn't you when you've Souček and Rice inside there? They're like two hulks inside there, like two wrestlers inside there. You're not going to get past them.
They're a joke.
They're brilliant. And we should, like, we spoke at the end of last season, and I said, a Papa Bouba Diop type player that just stands inside there and is as wide as he is tall and is just able to block up space. Yeah, and those two guys are able to do it. But you know what? Those two boys can ping a pass from 60 yards as well. They're very good, and they're a great complement to each other. But as it pains me to say that we don't have one of those in our team. It would be great. But they funnel people out wide, and those crosses were bread and butter an awful lot of the day to West Ham. Maybe apart from the one that Watkins heads off the bar, which could have made us 2-2. And McGinn actually got a header as well, header away, but it went tamely wide in the first half too. But they dealt with a lot of the balls into the air, into the box pretty easily. But when we ran at them and got down the side of them, like they're your archetypal Yerry Mina type defenders as well. If you get down the side of them, they don't like turning. They're like, if you've ever seen Zoolander can't turn to his left on the catwalk. A lot of defenders find it very, very difficult to turn from one side or the other, and we never get down the sides of them. But hopefully that will change now when we've got our formation changed a small bit more. We get into those more through balls as opposed to crosses, because I'm kind of done with crossing the ball at the moment. We just don't do anything from it.
Yeah, worth saying as well, but Ramsey's been ruled out for 6 weeks, so we're not going to have him available in midfield for the foreseeable future. So I would say at the moment, playing 4-3-3 might even end up being a problem, depending on what happens with Louise and whether we can get him back for Friday. Back to Souček and Rice.
Go for it.
Yeah. Back to Souček and Rice. I did the Totally Football show this morning, and they do everything that our midfield doesn't do, to being perfectly honest, because they give the defence such protection. They're so solid in front of that back four. The back four quite often doesn't have a lot of work to do because it doesn't even make it to them because of Rice and Souček. But what they also do is they just give that platform for the front players to do their thing, knowing that they can do what they need to do because they've got Rice and Souček behind them, and they both pop up with goals as well. Declan Rice has scored 3 already this season. They cover so much ground. They just do everything, and I knew that game would probably be lost in midfield if we were going to lose it. And I think it probably was in that first half, because West Ham, they just had that ability to make the pitch seem absolutely massive when they attacked. And everything's moved fast. The passes are with purpose. It zipped passes. Everything's the right way. With Villa, We have that ability to just make the pitch seem really, really small, compact, condensed. Everything's slow. The passes don't have the right weight. So the difference between West Ham and Villa in that first half for me was just absolutely night and day, even though it was only 2-1.
You're dead right. And I, the way that they set up as well with Jared Bowen is basically given a license to literally just run straight and fast whenever he needs to. And he pins back defenders. He means that you have to pin back defenders. And what that allows you to do is it allows Antonio to stay right up top. So you've got two out balls. So, and this is the difference even when Villa were playing with two up top, when Villa were playing an out ball, it was to Watkins. It was to Watkins, really, if they had to go along with an out ball. Danny Ings was usually withdrawn, maybe a small little bit. And Watkins had to cover all the way across the field. With West Ham, they can go long and high to Antonio, who can win his own ball in the air. We don't have a centre forward that can do that. Or they could go out to the wing, whatever wing Jared Bowen was on, and Jared Bowen can be withdrawn, maybe draw the full back forward, and then he's got the legs on anyone to run past them. So it's very, very smart the way they do it, because a lot of the time he starts higher and allows Antonio's position to be higher as well, which pushes your fullbacks back. And then, of course, they've got Fornals coming in off the other wing, and Ben Rama, and the two of them interchange. So they've got a nice setup in physical attributes up there as well that Villa don't have. But as you said, the backbone of it is the fact that they can do what those four guys can do whatever they want up front, because they know they've got the two brick shit houses in front of the defense. And that's a comfort blanket for every single team. And if we remember, don't forget that when Everton were really, really performing really well as well, their two shields in front of the defence were Marouane Fellaini when he was good, and Phil Neville. I know Phil Neville doesn't have the big muscular stature, but Phil Neville was able to play that.
Phil Neville.
But he was able to play.
You wouldn't mess with Phil Neville. You would not mess with Phil Neville, would you?
He was ratty. Like, he was a ratty man, and he'd let you know that you were there. And so Moyes knows how to set up that block in front of the defense. And this shouldn't really be a surprise to anyone that he's able to do this. But the two players he has at his disposal now are just masterful at it as well. So they're feeding off each other along with Moyes' tactics. So I think Moyes deserves an awful lot of credit for this West Ham team. He's dead and buried as a manager. He failed out in Spain. With Sunderland, West Ham the first time they didn't give him another crack at it, and now he's come back, and he's obviously self-scouted and looked himself in the mirror, and now he's a commodity again, I suppose, for what he's done.
Yeah, let's talk second half then. So, in one place to start, really, the sending off. Could have perhaps been 2 red cards. Could have perhaps been no red cards. I mean, VAR obviously ended up getting involved. I think personally, Horses was probably a red, but they've ended up sending off Konsa. I'm not convinced by the Konsa. I agree that Ashley Young was there or thereabouts on the cover, and it didn't feel deliberate. It felt like a little bit of a tangle of legs to me. I don't think Konsa's made an attempt to play the ball or play the man. I think he's just running. How did you see the sending off?
Yeah, I thought Konsa's one was harsh. I do still have a lot of claret and blue glasses on with regards to House's one. I think my criticalness, if that's a word, of Courtney House, and that one was that he didn't bite at the tackle earlier. I think he gave the referee a decision because he hesitated when Fornals miscontrolled the ball the first time. So he could have gone in, he could have cleaned man and ball, and the ball could have gone 40 yards up the field, but he gave it another second, and then it was another split second. And then when he did, he had to stay upright in the tackle because he couldn't go to ground because Fornals was that bit closer to the ball. I think the Courtney House one, like, there's a lot of momentum in it. His forearm was up, but I think it's very much a big man, small man tackle. If the forearm catches him 2 inches lower into the chest as opposed to up more around here, I don't think we're even talking about a red card at that stage. But look, it happened the way it is. I can see the way there's a talking point in it, but I would have felt it was harsh if he had gotten the red card, because I can guarantee you that if somebody like Joel Matip makes a tackle like that, he doesn't get a red card for it. So I don't think Courtney House should either. And then that brings me on to the Konza one, where Johnny Evans makes a tackle very similar to that. And the day before gets a yellow card for it, and Konza gets a red card for it. That's not saying that Konza should have been admonished for the tackle. I think it was a tangling. I think it's very much a defender goes behind the striker like that. I don't know what Konza was doing going behind him, or whether Jared Bowen came in front of him. I think the reason that Konza got sent off there was because they had to make two decisions. Was it a foul? Was it outside the box? And was it a red card? But the thing that annoys me with this is that, and I don't know, somebody I'm sure will correct us. I don't know what the rule is here, but the referee had dealt with the situation on field with a yellow card.
Yeah, he saw it as a yellow card offence initially.
Exactly. He saw it as a yellow card and he dished out the yellow card. It wasn't serious foul play in the fact that it wasn't a high tackle, it wasn't a leg break or anything like that. So VAR overturning those, like if this was after the game, you wouldn't be able to give somebody a retrospective red card. And I know people are going to say, well, obviously that's what VAR is there so that we don't have these situations. But this wasn't a horror tackle. The referee saw it as a yellow card. It wasn't a penalty. I don't know. Is that the correct? No. It is by the law, obviously, because VAR were allowed to do it. But I don't know going forward if I was writing the rules of VAR, not just because that the Villa player, the referee has dealt with it, and realistically, because we're talking about it now, and because of the marginal aspect of it, was it clear and obvious? I don't think it was. And therefore VAR shouldn't really be able to get involved in it, but they did, and I hope that it's applied across the whole lot of the league going forward. But we saw that it wasn't on Saturday and it was on Sunday. So once again, clarity and leadership from VAR and from the Premier League just isn't there.
I don't think we'll ever get that.
No.
One thing that has alarmed me a bit in the last couple of games, I thought it in the Arsenal game for the third goal. I thought Konsa was a little bit keen to engage, a little bit keen to press as a centre-back for the Arsenal third goal, and then we just got caught out and they ended up scoring via a deflection. Same with Hawes, really. A bit too keen to engage and to just hold your ground a little bit. Someone's running at you. Don't commit. Jockey. Hold your ground a little bit. I feel there's some bad decision making going on at the back all round. And I'm not saying Mings doesn't make bad decisions, by the way, because he absolutely does. But I just feel like there's bad decisions going around at the back at the moment. And then Mings ends up coming on it anyway. And there was a brief period where Villa looked a little bit galvanised. McGinn's managed to ping one back across on his right foot, and Watkins has hit the bar. At that point, we were, with 10 men even, we were still in the game.
We were even the commentators were saying it in TV. They were like, this is galvanized Aston Villa, and we were 2-1 down. And as I say, that was the period of time when
the crowd got up a little bit as well.
They did, yeah, they did. And Watkins hit the bar, and I was watching it and I was going, Jesus, this would be some result if we were to bring this back to 2-2. The house might explode, because the crowd would have really got behind us if we got it to 2-2, because there was a kind of a sense, I would imagine, in the ground of a bit of victimization in the fact that we had the red card against us, and the two goals were, I'm not going to say against the run of play, because they weren't, because West Ham were all over us, and they owned the ball.
Controlled
in that
the first half.
They really did, but they were out of the ordinary goals in the way that they were scored. You don't expect two of those to go in such a short space of time. But I think if we got it back to 2-2,
I expect that kind of thing at the moment. Now, I expect anything after the Wolves game.
Yeah, and like we get back to 2-2, who's to know? That we don't try and shut up shop, but we kept it at 2-1. We lost our footing after that 10-12 minute spell. We lost our footing, and then we really ran out of steam, and that's just shown by the calamity of the third goal, really. It was a real calamity. In the bin third goal. Yeah, it was
grim.
Yeah.
It's because basically I see it as the perfect storm. There's so much stuff's happened for that third goal in the lead up to it. So Fornals has made a bad foul on Nakamba. Probably not a red card, but it's a bad foul. But there's an opportunity for the referee to play advantage. He doesn't do it. He calls it back. So at that point you think, there might be a red card here, because he's called it back. Surely if it was only going to be a yellow, he'd have just waved play on and gone back and booked him afterwards. So no advantage played, no red card. Our player's got to walk off the pitch because he's been down on the floor. He's injured. We have a free kick. They break from the free kick. Target makes a bad foul. The referee does decide that this time he will play advantage and go back and book Target later. They break. And then the guy who made the foul on Nakamba in the first place, Fornals, is the one that sticks the ball in the back of the net. I mean, when things are going badly, That kind of thing. That's just vintage Villa for me.
It's pantomime.
That's why I'm there. Just to see things like that. That's what I've become used to over the years. That's what I'm there for.
It's pantomime film sort of stuff, and it always hits us. We never get those breaks. Like you go back to even when we were playing. Was it in the? It was in the championship. We played Brentford, and Neil Maupay should have been sent off for a high tackle. And then 10 minutes later, he's sticking the ball.
A bad one on McGinn, that was.
Yeah, and he's sticking the ball in the back of the net to win the game from them. Then and we're going, oh my god, and things like, if I'm not mistaken, and I could very well be mistaken on this one. I think we played. Was it last year in January? The Paul Pogba shit. He'd been off the field, and then he ends up getting this nasty penalty where he kicks out a Douglas Louise and goes down and gets the penalty. Little things like that. It does happen to us, and I'm sure there's probably there's lots of other podcasts for lots of other teams saying that they never get the breaks too. But I don't think that we're being very kind of we don't have a victim syndrome when we're talking about this, because we talk about it every other game, that something didn't go our way and then it went the other team's way.
I mean, we deserve to lose. We deserve. I'm not making excuses, but that kind of thing is vintage.
We were the worst team. Like, of the two teams, we were the worst team at the weekend. We're not admonishing blame. And Smith made mistakes, and there was a lack of effort in certain areas of the field and in certain aspects of play from the players. We're not admonishing anymore. We're not making excuses. We're just calling certain aspects of what happened on the field as we see it. And I think a lot of these things were, as you said, it's the perfect storm. But, at the end of the day, if we do a bit better with the free kick, they don't break, So I really think, really think, the secret sauce from the set pieces, both defending them, which we never had the secret sauce for that this season, but certainly scoring from them. It's gone.
Yeah. I mean, we did briefly try a Leon Bailey long throw for a few times in the first half. Didn't really look like it was something he'd ever done before, in all honesty, by the technique of his throw-ins, but maybe we will say that again. Maybe we won't, but 3-1. Game over with 10 men. There's no coming back from that. And you think, we'll probably go on and ship a couple more. Obviously, we ended up just shipping one more. Villa Park starts to empty. I can't even be bothered to dissect the fourth goal. The game's over. Villa in disarray. Well, you've got things going on, so we'll let you off. Villa in disarray, letting in the fourth goal at that point. As I say, Villa Park absolutely beginning to empty at this point. So, looking back, the things that I liked of that game. That's something I did like in the second half. It felt a bit like, when Nakamba plays, he's always the deepest midfielder. He's always the sitter. He doesn't really have the licence to press. There was a good spell in the second half where McGinn seemed to sit and Nakamba seemed to have this licence to press. And he did win the ball a few times high up the pitch. I quite liked the shackles being off him in that respect a little bit. So I liked that. I liked Leon Bailey being fit and being able to start a game, because every time I've watched Leon Bailey, I've sat there and thought, Bailey, I love you. He was quiet yesterday. I think it's now for him, it's about getting some rhythm and getting some minutes in the tank for him, because he's going to be a fantastic player for us, and we need to get him going, because he's a game changer from what I've seen so far. But tough opposition to come in against West Ham yesterday, and I do think if Ings had been fit, I do think you'd have seen Bailey coming on from the bench instead of being in from the start. But I'm not seeing many things that I do like from Villa in general at the moment, Neil, and Friday becomes massive now. We're both, I think we can agree, we're both smithing. Please be kind on the live chat. I know there may be some abuse at this point, but he is under some pressure now, because four defeats in a row in the Premier League, any manager comes under pressure at that point.
Yeah. And when we say we're smithed in, Smith in for the time being, obviously, realistically speaking, I want him to be able to put us out of this funk and to play. I really think stability.
Same.
The stability. The reason we want him in there is for stability, and also, it's a slim pickings out there. I don't think Nuno is the man to. And look, it's just because I just think that Nuno may not be the man. He may very well be. Who knows? But who do we go for? Who do we go for there? I saw somebody genuinely putting forward the likes of Zidane on Twitter yesterday. Zidane isn't coming to shop in the Bullring. As much now as I love the Bullring, and I love going to shop there, believe me, and I would love to go there every weekend to do it. Zidane ain't coming to Birmingham, if anything. So I look with the Smith in stuff. It does need to be said that yes, look, we're not completely ignoring the fact that it's possible that he gets sacked. So
Oh,
and it is,
I don't think it will happen, but it is a possibility. I
yeah.
mean, he's bounced back from lower than this before, I would say, both
Well,
in the Championship and in the Premier League.
well,
He's come back from tougher situations than this, I think.
statistically, I think somebody said that we'd never lost more than 2 games under 2 games in a row under him. But yet we've
It's the
lost
first
four
time
in a
since
row now.
2012 Villa have lost 4 in a row.
Yeah. So like, and I know it's a snapshot, and people say that the league table doesn't lie. Well, it does lie in November. It doesn't lie in the first week of June when the season is over. Although if you talk to some Bournemouth fans, they'll tell you that it did lie because of Hawkeye in 2019. But
Well, we're not allowed to exist on this planet, Neil, because
no,
of Hawkeye. That's the
yeah,
only reason Aston Villa's still around. It's the only reason Villa are a football club, because of
exactly,
Hawkeye.
because of Hawkeye. Yeah, it's nothing to do with
Yeah.
William McGregor. But you know, it does start to get dicey. It does, like, there's more than murmurings there about Dean Smith being on the hot seat. Bookies have him favoured as next to go, and we have to acknowledge that. You know, I would
He
love
was
him
22-1 before the game, you know.
yeah,
I had a
and
look.
he's gone into
He was,
45
and
now.
now he's not.
Yeah, he's gone into
Yeah, he's not.
45. So it's a big thing, and you do need to acknowledge it. And look, we're not silly here. We're not looking at it here, and we're not, we're not completely blind to the fact that he could be sacked. You know, we just genuinely don't think that now is probably the time that they're going to do it. They may do it in January, they may do it in February, but I personally hope he pulls us out of this and he gets us rocketing up the league again. And I think everybody does, really, because none of us go out here to, like, we all want Aston Villa to win. Whether you like Dean Smith or you don't, myself and Dan are going to sit here and we really want Aston Villa to win. And realistically speaking, if it's Doris, the tea lady, who gained great notoriety when Doug Ellis was with the club, if Doris is managing the team, I don't care as long as we're winning. You know, and as long as we can see progression there, and I think we've seen it with Dean Smith, and I'm willing to give him a chance. I just don't think that there's that we can put our hand on anyone at the moment to come in, and I don't even think that we get a bounce from anybody at the moment. But I think that Dean Smith can potentially sort this out. I hope Dean Smith can sort it out. I hope he does, because I want him to do it.
I will say we're a little bit more in flux moment than perhaps
Yes.
I expected. I'm a bit uneasy about certain things that I am seeing, and ultimately Dean Smith does carry the can for that because he is the manager. But the players need to look at themselves as well. Other than Matty Cash, I don't think there's anyone playing anywhere near their best level.
Yeah.
At the moment, even the goalkeeper, I think, is an exceptional world-class goalkeeper. I don't think he's at the level he was last season. Currently, there's a lot to work with in that squad. Signing 3 players to replace Jack suddenly doesn't look the most clever thing in the world, because the only formation we can play all those players is 4-4-2. It is the only thing we can do, and I'm not necessarily saying that that's going to be the answer. So we've done a lot of shoehorning this season. We haven't had a fully fit squad all season. That is going to be a problem. Any team's going to struggle when they don't have everyone to pick from at a certain point in the season, and up to now we have not had that, and it doesn't look like we're going to have it for the foreseeable. So I think there is mitigating circumstances. There is a mini rebuild because the football club, it was too Jack-centric. You look back now and it absolutely was too Jack Grealish-centric, and recovering from that is going to be hard. We've lost our way a little bit. The Wolves collapse has absolutely made us poo the bed. We have not recovered from that at all. That hour from the end of the Wolves game to the start of the Arsenal game, there just hasn't been a recovery. They're going to need one on Friday because 5 in a row is a problem.
Yeah.
And then it is the international break. And if you would expect, I don't think they will, but you would expect if any ownership was going to act, it would be after another defeat on Friday. So he needs to do something and get a result on Friday to relieve a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if we don't, like, Friday is an absolute, I don't think it's a must win. I think it's definite must not lose. And I said the exact same thing about West Ham.
You want to see a performance.
Yeah, you want exactly. That's what I'm getting at here. You want to see a performance. You want to see leaders. You want to see a bit of camaraderie there. You want to see something that's going something click together once more. It's a short turnaround, and you'll hear this is where I do my match of the day spot. Some players would prefer to have a short turnaround so they can put the record right, after that game at the weekend. Very Annan Hansen there to say something like that. But I think we need to have a kind of resurgence on Friday against Southampton for 2 reasons. Because Aston Villa Football Club, we spent the last 5, 6, 7 years wanting to have players playing international football, wanting to have these good players, willing Jack Grealish into the English setup. And now we've got quite a lot of players playing international football. And I am dreading the fact that they're going on international football at the moment. I'm dreading, like, I think Leon Bailey should be handcuffed to something in Ballymore Heat so that he missed his flight to Jamaica. Because we just like we're the ones above all other teams. We're suffering massively from these international breaks. The travel shite that goes on. Sorry for swearing. I know it's not my podcast, but
I don't care. It's after 9 o'clock now.
The travel stuff, like Emmy Martinez, fair play to him, went home, saw his dad. Absolutely no criticism over that. No way. Family's family. Got to do it. Mm-hmm. But this whole thing of, and it may not happen the next time, coming back at 2:00 in the morning to play a match at 12 o'clock the next day. That's not fair.
Not good.
Like there's employment laws around that kind of stuff. Why should it be any different for a footballer? It's madness. That and like the fact that Bertrand Traore goes away and plays with Burkina Faso, comes back with an injured thigh. Leon Bailey being called up, Douglas Louise having to travel through the night as well. We're having a bad. There's bad juju out there with regards to injuries as it is, but we're getting even worse when we go on international when players go on international break on international leave, and we just can't afford to have that. You mentioned about our midfield at the moment. I presume Douglas Luiz isn't going to be allowed travel with this injury that he has, but we can't afford to lose anyone. We can't afford to lose anybody in there, and we've already lost Jacob Ramsey. If God forbid Leon Bailey goes and plays for Jamaica and he injures his hamstring again, I genuinely think that somebody will, I don't know what fans will do if that was the case. It's just the run of luck in that aspect is awful. But like Friday night, that's why Friday night, to me, you got to get points on the board, because we don't know who the hell is going to come back healthy from international leave, because we've just been so lucky so far. So get a good result, good performance, a bit of a buoyancy going into this international break for whoever sticks around. But also, we need to start picking up points before the likes of Man City and Liverpool start coming to town, because even me, probably one of the more glass half full fans, isn't really looking forward to either of those two games coming up soon.
Well, two pieces of good news is Southampton have picked up form, so they've won their last two coming into the Villa game. So that's always class.
Great. And Ralph Hasenhüttl never seems to come up with a great game plan against. Oh no, wait! He always seems to come up with a great game plan against Aston Villa. Sorry,
I got that. Not done great against Southampton, have we?
But then again, Danny Ings is now playing for us, and he usually has a worldie against us.
That's true.
So.
Well, it depends on his hamstring. I believe it's his hamstring that there's a problem with. James Ward-Prowse as well. He had a suspension recently, but he'll be back to take free kicks against us like he did last season. And on the international front as well, we've got another international now. So the only player that I've said is on good form at the moment, Matty Cash. He goes on international duty as well now. So things are looking good now. Yeah. Things are looking up, aren't they? Everything's going well. I think that does us for this week's edition of the Post-Match Point. As I say, apologies we haven't been around for the last 3 or 4 weeks, but we are back now. If you do want to get yourself some Purity and Villa goods, you'll get 10% off if you use the code #VillaView. We'll get some more shows in the diary, so we'll let you know on social media when they're coming. Once again, huge congratulations to Neil for becoming a father on Friday, and thanks to everyone for tuning in as well. Hopefully some form of therapy, probably not, but we've done our best. Things are bad at the moment. Things can only get better, surely. Up the Villa.